Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Locker Room, our weekly podcast where we promote all of the kids here in the Bayou region. It is St. Patrick's Day. We hope that you're having a terrific day. Along with me, Stan Gravois, is Dustin Robichaud. Dustin Robichaud is a graphic designer here for Terrebonne General. It's always good to have you here with us, Dustin.
Appreciate it, Stan. Are you wearing green today?
I'm not. You had to bring it up. We actually talked about this before we went on air, and I'm thinking I don't have the green on, but we do hope everybody that celebrates St. Patrick's Day is having a terrific day. Usually there's parades associated with all of this. I haven't heard that much of that.
Yeah, I haven't seen any. There was a small little festival in Thibodeau yesterday.
I do think they do that, and obviously in Homer here, they have a parade where I know they throw a lot of groceries out at people, and the New Orleans area certainly does celebrate. Well, New Orleans celebrates anything that they keep their hands on to celebrate. So again, we hope you have a terrific St. Patrick's Day. It is a Monday. March, what's the date today? Did we ever figure out what the exact date is? St. Patrick's Day is
the 17th.
17th or whatever. So listen, we hope everybody's having a terrific day and that you have a terrific week. Of course, we celebrate what all the kids have done in our area the prior week, and we look forward to what they will be doing the next week. We hope that you can subscribe to our podcast. Very easy to do. You just go underneath somewhere. If you're watching us on YouTube or listening on YouTube or Spotify, there is a subscribe button. You just click on that, and you will get the latest updates related to our podcast. Have a good podcast for you today. We're sort of putting a button on basketball season. We are moving into baseball, softball, also track and field. There are a lot of track and field meets going on in the Bayou region. We'll talk about that a little bit too. And today we have Casey Gisclair back. Casey has been going for a while because he's in such demand. He has done a lot of stuff with the Louisiana High School Athletic Association related to the Top 28 tournament for the boys and for the girls. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about that. But we're also going to shine a little highlight on CCA's baseball. That team is 18-0. They have a big one with Jesuit this week. But to be 18-0 in baseball is phenomenal. And that team is certainly one of the better teams in the state of Louisiana. So going to shine a little light on those guys. Do want to mention this. We have a sports performance training center here at Terrebonne General, and it is moving. A lot of the kids, especially from Terrebonne Parish, but there are a lot from Lafourche Parish, even a few from St. Mary, who come in and work out to get better at their craft related to bigger, faster, stronger in this gym. It has always been housed here at the hospital, in our gym here at the hospital. It's making a move, and I know that you guys have something to do with that, Dustin, related to sort of making sure everybody knows where it's at, right?
Absolutely, Stan. Yeah, the ribbon cutting is actually going to be happening this Friday at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Friday. They have moved to corporate. So for you guys who are familiar with Pepper's Pizza and Wingstop and those places on corporate, they're right across the street. It's actually the old workout company building, but it has been modernized. It's really phenomenal, and we hope that you can join us. It's open to the public. Grand opening again is this upcoming Friday. The official photo op is 11 o'clock, but it lasts from 10 in the morning till noon. So for a 2-hour window, you can come in and check out the place. Obviously, you don't pay anything to do that. You just come and see what it's like. So we would love to have you there. Again, it's the grand opening for the Sports Performance Training Center. Well, actually, the Performance Training Center. Kind of dropped the sports because we have so many of the general laymen who come in there and they try and get in the right kind of shape for whatever endeavor they do, whether it's riding bikes, whether it's you want to be an Ironman competitor, whether you want to run a marathon, whatever the case may be, you go in there and get preferential treatment. The other nice thing is now it has a cardio component where you can actually do workouts related to being on an elliptical or a treadmill or a recumbent bike, those type things. So again, 10 to 12 this Friday morning on corporate. It's the new Performance Training Center. Track and field is hot and heavy, folks. There were 2 meets in our local area this past Friday. E.D. White had their Cardinal Relays, a really good Cardinal Relays, and the Cardinals wiped it out. Both the boys and girls programs from E.D. White won in their respective divisions. Let's take a look at the boys' finishings. E.D. White won it with 154 points. By the way, this is a very prestigious meet. In second place was Brother Martin with 141 points. St. James had 63 points. Terrebonne, 51 points. Berwick, 50 points, and rounding out the rest of the field was Morgan City, Ascension Catholic, Houma Christian, Covenant Christian, and Central Catholic. So again, congratulations to the boys of E.D. White for winning their own Cardinal Relays. And the star of the relays was Blake Guidry. Blake Guidry set the pole vault record over at E.D. White. He jumped 15 feet. Have you ever pole vaulted before?
I have not, no.
Listen, when I was in high school, we used to have to wait at our last PE to go out for baseball practice with the pole vaulters. I tried it one time, and after almost literally killing myself, decided not to do it. You have to be special to do pole vault. Anyway.
I have a thing with heights.
Yeah, well, 15 feet. Consider that the world record is, between 20 and 21 feet. Mm-hmm. That's not bad for a high school kid. Blake Guidry obviously is on his way to competing on the collegiate level. So congratulations to him again, and the boys from E.D. White. Congratulations to the girls from E.D. White. They win the girls division. They score 187 points. In second place was Mount Carmel. Of course, Mount Carmel is an all-girls school. They score 141. Berwick in third place with 64. Terrebonne in fourth place with 58. St. James in fifth place with 40. And rounding out the field there, Central Catholic, Ascension Catholic, Morgan City, Covenant Christian, and Houma Christian. So a great meet over at E.D. White. There was also a great meet over at South Lafourche. The Tarpon Relays, a very nice, prestigious relays that happens every year. We're going to wait to talk to Casey a little bit about that because Casey was actually there and got a lot of footage. So if you have time, go to Bayou Sports. You can actually see a lot of footage from the Tarpon Relays on the Bayou Sports social media page because Casey was there getting a lot of that footage. This week, it's the Gator Relays over at South Terrebonne. So if you have the opportunity, weather's supposed to be pretty good this week. On Friday afternoon, field events start at 3 o'clock, and all of the sprints and the running events start a little bit later, around 5:30. Get out to South Terrebonne. They would love it, especially after that school coming off of a storm. This is the first really, they did do it last year, but this is the first really, big time where they have all the schools coming back. So they would love to have your patronage out there. They would love to have you go out and support that track meet. Again, the Gator Relays, always, again, a very traditional, festive relays. And what's interesting about that is Coach Francis Labatt and Coach Steve Barber are back coaching track and field at South Terrebonne. They actually retired. Two guys Dustin.
Yeah.
You gave me a surprise look.
I was not aware of this.
Yeah, they've been out of it for years, and they were asked to come back just to coach their respective sports. And Steve Barber has been the longtime boys track coach. Francis Labatt, the longtime girls track coach. They've been going for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And they've decided to come back, and they're actually coaching those programs. They put on a great track meet. So that's going to be a great one over at South Terrebonne. Again, the Gator Relays this Friday afternoon. So go check out the new gym in the morning and go check out the Gator Relays in the afternoon.
Got your whole day planned.
Got your whole day planned. Going to have Casey on in just a second. Casey going to talk to us a little bit about the things he has been having going on because he has been a man in demand. And when I say that, you'll find out related to the LHSAA and things like that. But he also is going to give us a little insight to moving forward with baseball and softball. So we do hope that you stick around for that. And we'll wrap it up after we get finished with Casey, just talking about those things that are going to be coming up this upcoming week. So again, Casey Gisclair.
So happy to have Casey with us. We've been away from each other there for the last couple of weeks, but for good reason. For those of you who don't know, Casey actually for the last couple of weeks has been, and I'm going to let you term it because I don't know if I would term it as a guest. You've actually been working with the LHSAA out at the top 28 tournaments, both boys and girls, as they wrapped up the basketball season last week. An adventure that is very nice to have a local voice, a local. And when I say that, I say it both literally and figuratively from our area who started speaking at these games, although we didn't have a lot of teams except for Vanderbilt Catholic's girls in the finals, you were sort of privy by the LHSAA to go out there and do some broadcasting for them. First of all, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
I am, man. How about yourself?
Very good. Let's jump right into that. What a great honor. The LHSAA talks to you about helping those folks with the top 28. Talk about how it all came about and what was that experience like?
First and foremost, the experience was incredible. To be able to do the games on both the women's side and the men's side, it was incredible. Saw some great basketball. For the women's games, I show up. I don't know who I'm working with. They say, "Oh, well, hey, your broadcast partner is Marie Ferdinand Harris." It's like, "Oh, well, I'm working with one of the best women's basketball players, in LSU history." It was amazing. Then I got a chance to work with Coach Muto on the men's side, who did an awesome job. So it was tremendous. A lifelong dream to do things like that, and it was wonderful. Now, in terms of how it came about, just networking, man. I do the Nichols games on ESPN Plus. My producer there is a guy named Jeff Schneider. Jeff Schneider is a big guy with the LHSA network. So he shoots me a text and says, "Hey, man, I have an opening with the women's games. Would you like to take it?" Well, yeah, of course. And then after I get out in the women's games, he said, "Well, hey, man, you did a really good job. So do you want to do some of the men's games?" Of course. So yeah, just like anything else, making connections and, rubbing elbows with the right people and opening up some doors. It was wonderful. I told them as I was leaving, I said, "Jeff, if y'all need me next year, I'm back. If y'all need me for baseball, I'm back." First class operation. It really was awesome.
Very good. Very good. Sometimes we sit here and we talk about the LHSAA in maybe negative connotations, but the fact is that they are trying to get it to everybody. And this is a way that if you can't leave your home, whether you're in Minden, Louisiana, or you're in Grand Isle, Louisiana, you can actually see these games, right?
100%. And look, a lot of people go and get the subscription service to watch the games, which is cool. But you could also get the LHSA Network app and watch them for free. So yeah, it's cool. They give you an opportunity to watch all these games at no cost.
So that being said, you got to watch, as you just mentioned, some really good basketball.
Yes.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. How far or how close? Now, let's not talk about Jaworski and his girls at Vanderbilt, because obviously they went out there and they just balled out, right? This old man just said balled out.
Listen to you, man.
That being said, just in general, let's look at the boys first. How close are we? How close are we to having teams that are semifinalists, let's say?
Man, I'm going to depress some people. The gap's pretty big. You watch the teams over there. They have so much talent. And I mentioned this on play-by-play last week, is that the teams over there to succeed and make it to the top 28, you have to be able to cause so much pressure and chaos on defense without fouling. You have to be able to handle so much chaos and pressure offensively without turning it over. And then, you have to have size and length and athleticism to protect the rim whenever someone actually breaks your pressure. You have to have so much depth, so much talent. And look, I say that by knowing and understanding that Hannon won the state championship. Vanderbilt was beating them in the fourth quarter of the quarterfinals, right? So maybe it's not as big as I'm making it seem out to be, but you just need so many dudes. And Stan, quite frankly, we got too many high schools here for that to ever become a reality.
Listen, I'm agreeing with you, and I'm smiling as you're saying all of this, simply because, a good friend of mine who comes sit in my office from time to time, Ernie Brown, who you know well, Ernest Brown,
yep.
who you could debate as the godfather of basketball and getting it to the level it even has gotten to with Ellender winning a state championship in basketball. We were sitting the other day, and he made the comment, I'll sit and I'll listen to you and Casey talk about basketball and who's really good. He said, sometimes folks need to understand that's in the context of who they're playing in their regular schedule. And it's not a knock about saying, hey, they're playing well. They're good. They're the best team in our area, blah, 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 all of that. It goes along with it. But he said somewhere along the line, when you compare it to the rest of the state, And then you went into the defensive analogy of sometimes we just can't put as much pressure and get after people. And he said that's the lost art form in basketball right now. It's the lost, creating turnovers. He said everybody sees Steph Curry jack it up. They don't realize Steph Curry shoots 10,000 shots a day, and you're not going to get in the gym and shoot 10 shots a day and be Steph Curry. And I thought that was in other words, you guys are thinking right in line with each other. What's the biggest thing that may have surprised you or not surprised you related to the basketball tournament? Like you were a little maybe, I don't know, misled to the way all of this works.
Yeah, so the biggest surprise to me is the fact, okay, like whenever I was younger, you would go to Lafayette or wherever the top 28 was, and you would go to see the teams that had the big dudes, right? The teams that made the top 28 were the guys who had the 6'9" post players and, the big guys, and they would play in the paint back to the basket. Stan, I watched, I called games 3 days, and then I watched games for, like 4 of the days. I didn't see a single back to the basket post player in the entire tournament.
Wow.
Teams have 6'7", 6'8" guys. They're playing on the perimeter. They're in triple threat position. They're not getting the ball in the paint, backing you down. They are protecting the rim on the defensive end. But like the day and age of just, hey, throw it to the big guy, let him back down. He's going to shoot it until he makes it. That's over, man. No one in the entire state had that type of player. And it was crazy to me because just 5, 10, 15 years ago, it was completely opposite, completely different. So in the last even just 4 or 5 years, we've seen a huge, huge shift.
Wide open offenses is what Ernie Brown calls it. He says it equates to what you see in football where they kind of spread everybody all over. And he said if somebody came in and they really got after you on defense, they were going to win a state championship. And I noticed one of your posts, I think it was Shaw, who was getting after people, and you went, this is kind of what it takes to get to that next level.
100%, man. You got to be able to in the way that Coach Mouton and I explained it, you got to be able to thrive in chaos on offense, and you got to be able to create chaos on defense.
Just real quick, a little story, which I think you will appreciate. I've been to some of the games since, but not very many. But my funnest time at a state championship basketball game happened to be in Lafayette, and a good friend of mine, I'll give his name out there, Eric Carrere, was very close to a lot of people related to when South Lafourche had Clarence Moore and Ross Swesh and those guys. And I went sit in the Cajun Dome to watch them play in their state championship game. Unfortunately, that was the one they lost. They actually lost that one. But guess who sat next to me? I don't know if I've ever told you this before.
No, I don't know this.
I'm sitting there with Eric, and we have Ross Swesh and those guys, his uncle, sitting in front of us. And there's nobody sitting next to us, and the game's about to start, and 2 gentlemen come sit. It was Bobby Crimmins from Georgia Tech.
Wow.
And I'm watching the game with Bobby Crimmins sitting next to me. Of course, he was there to see Clarence Moore at that time. But, that was my highlight of doing it. So you got to stay there all week and call the games. I was just like a casual observer in that one. I do hope, and again, that puts a button on basketball for us. I do hope that we see more teams. And you and I have not had the opportunity to talk about it publicly, but another big kudos to Jaworski Coleman and all of his girls. I'm going to give some other names out there too. Leela Day, his assistant coach. Nate Fry, who he was smart enough to go out and get Nate. That really helps out. And listen, he leans a lot. Coach Luke, who helps over there too. He also leans a lot on his boys' basketball coaches. He and Leon Veal are very good friends. Henry Washington, all very good friends. So congratulations to that whole program. And I got to meet with some of the girls on Friday morning, I think it was this past Friday. And they were the junior girls coming back, Stewart and Journey and those people. I don't think they're done yet. I think we may see some good stuff in the future, right?
100%. They still have a lot of talent, man. And the thing that made me the happiest is I remember getting the phone call from Coach Coleman. Hey, man, Michaela Charles blew out her knee. Like, she doesn't know if she's going to play her senior season. And, and I know Michaela. I've been knowing Michaela since she was a young girl. To know the struggle that she went through. And then and honestly, when she came back early in the season, she was still favoring her knee. She didn't trust it yet. And you could just see it was like in the second half of the game, she just wasn't injured anymore, and she just started balling. Like you said earlier, she just started balling, and she dominated the second half, won state MVP. Super happy for her. Super happy for the entire roster of young ladies. They deserved it, man. Great coach, Coach Jaworski, built an awesome coaching staff, and they won their second ever state championship. And as you mentioned, number 3 might be close behind.
Yep. They were actually at one point, they were 15-7, and we had people in the area going, are they that good? And you mentioned it when Michaela Charles sort of came back into the fold. And then all of a sudden you're starting to look around and you're going, you know what? They're the best team by far in Division II Select. I thought actually it would be a little bit more of a blowout against Madison Prep. But Madison Prep obviously has some talented individuals. I mean, if they beat University more than once this year, so that was no fluke along the way. That all being said, again, a bow now on basketball. A lot of people think I would jump right into baseball and softball next, but I did see, as we are here at Terrebonne, a big, advocate of what you do with Bayou Sports. You guys actually were out there for the Tarpon Relays, because each week, folks, you're going to have a local school, in all probability, that is going to host the track meet. The big one was the Tarpon Relays, and we mentioned a little bit earlier, the Cardinal Relays also held in Thibodaux. So we actually had 2 this weekend. That doesn't happen a whole lot. But you were down at the Tarpon Relays. One, the weather was beautiful. It's springtime, still a little nippy for my taste. But all that being said, talk about the track meet. What was it like? What was the atmosphere like?
It was good, man. It was a good little day on campus, and I got to tell you, the way it was set up, where there was a track meet in the football stadium and then a home baseball game in the baseball stadium, there were a lot of people. So people were just kind of roaming and coming and going between the two. It set up a good little atmosphere. On terms of the performances, the Lady Tarpons won the girls meet, and then on the boys side, the Tarpons finished 3rd, but there's so much talent. H.L. Bourgeois boys are good. Thibodaux boys are real good. Central Lafourche, there was so much talent. We saw a school record get broken. Ava Bourret broke the South Lafourche shot put record. We saw some guys blazing the track. Shout out to the Guidry kid over at the Cardinal Relays breaking the pole vaulting record for E.D. White. So we got some people setting some records, man, and doing some really good things. It's going to be a really fun track and field season. I think it's going to be a really competitive track and field season.
Do want to mention to everybody, it's the Gator Relays this week. I don't know if you even know this, Casey. So Francis Labatt and Steve Barber came back to coaching track.
Yes.
And I don't know if they were down at the Tarpon Relays or not. But that's a little odd for me because they've been away for it for about 5 years. But the one thing they do, they throw terrific track meets. They are on time. They get it going. So Gator Relays is our local track meet that has most of our local teams in it this Friday over at South Terrebonne. I'm sure they would love to have everybody because, remember, they're still sort of recuperating from Ida. So this is one of the big keynote events that's actually happening on their campus, if I'm not mistaken.
It was really cool staying Friday because I saw Coach Barber and Coach Labatt, and I go, hey, man, what the heck are you guys doing here? And then they were like, hey, they roped us back into coaching. And, they told us that they have a young program and they're trying to build it back up and they want the numbers to get up and everything of that sort. So it was really cool to see them. And then, you go on the track and who do you see? Coach Joey Guitro shooting the gun and getting everybody organized. It was like the whole old band was back together. It was really neat to see, man.
That is one thing track and field does. Even if you're finished coaching, you still come back and you run the meet. So you're always around. And those coaches can't help. I'm sure between Joey and Steve Barber and whoever else, Coach Rye goes back and works them sometimes because they're always giving tips to the kids too. So it's a community event for sure. Again, this Friday, it's the Gator Relays. Didn't want to talk a whole lot about baseball and softball this week. We're going to get into that hot and heavy next week. But you cannot shy away or we'd be remiss not to mention this. CCA is 18-0. And I saw a stat that came out on social media. I say a stat. It's a poll that somebody does. I don't know if it's a Louisiana Baseball Coaches Association or whoever. And it basically lists the best teams in the state of Louisiana, regardless of your classification. And you see your Catholics of Baton Rouge's in there, and maybe not as good as what they were, but you see your Zachary's, you see your John Curtis's and your Jesuits and all of that. And then there, right at about 16 or 17, is CCA, which they couldn't help but put them in there because at the time they were about 16-0, and they saw that they maybe had just smacked East Ascension. This is a pretty special team. I've seen Joe with some pretty good teams at CCA. I've seen some really good Vanderbilt Catholic teams, South Terrebonne teams, South Lafourche teams. I'm not sure I've seen one like this with CCA. Maybe as good as anybody in the state. So how do you feel about that?
They're ridiculous, man. They're so good. And the thing of it is they're so motivated, that they're so hungry. They understand, hey, we didn't win the state championship last year. Like, let's go make it happen. Joe tells us on the radio all the time, I have 12 starters on the 1 through 9. So he says practice is intense every day because guys are trying to earn their spot in the lineup. Butch comes on and tells us, hey, I got 6 or 7 guys who we could throw in a game with confidence. And that's as a starter. That's not as a reliever. That's as a starter. And when you look at the numbers, Stan, they have outscored opponents 210-13, which is ridiculous. They have scored run rule wins in 13 of their 18 games. Butch told us on Saturday, okay, the stat whip, which is walks and hits per innings pitched. It's 0.4 for them. So it means every other inning they allow someone to reach base. And then, they're scoring 10, 15 runs a game too. So you're not scoring and they're scoring 10 or 15 runs a game. It's unbelievable. The collection of talent is amazing. The mindset of the kids to not, eat the rat poison, as Nick Saban would say, is amazing. And man, they're 18-0, and I get it. They're playing Jesuit this week. On paper, that's one. Okay, well, 5A versus a 1A. CCA could very much so go and win that game.
Yes, and obviously, when we go back to that poll in the future, again, I think it's the Baseball Coaches Association poll. It would only mean that they would jump up that thing. When you consider that there's a load of talent there, but it's also mature talent. I'm not saying that they're all seniors either. I'm just saying that they're a little older. Even the kids who are sort of new to things, the kids you probably don't roll off their names off your tongue, are still, they would be great with like everybody else in the area. So they really have, and when I say that, I'm talking about the Dudaks, the Mason Dudaks and the Chevy Bourgeois, who was new to them, who came in basically with Butch. Butch had known the kid over at Homer Christian. Just terrific. And then you get back and you think to yourself, it's not like after every game we're mentioning the same 2 names. It's 2 new names, right? Every time. You got the twins. You got the Trosclair twins. You got Brennan Champagne. You got Carson Hebert, which were, the names we've been saying for a while. And then all of a sudden, you have Mason Canner playing shortstop, who's probably the best infielder in the area. So all of that being said, I can't help but wonder what the limit is. Like, what's the ceiling for this team?
Winning the state championship.
Yeah, that's all you can do. The other thing is, and Joe probably has told you this a lot. I know when we used to do radio together, he mentioned it a lot. Sometimes he got stuck in that single game bracket, right? So if the other team had, Kurt Schilling on the mound, he might lose that one game. Doyle was a great example. Last year it was Doyle. Doyle had one guy. They were a one-trick pony, and that guy got up on the mound and shut him down. The next game, Doyle loses by a mercy rule in the state championship. So that being said, that's not going to happen to CCA this year. I don't imagine it will, right?
Well, that's the pitfall they have. They are still in a single elimination bracket. So, they could go 30-0. And if a pitcher throws the game of his life in round 1 of the postseason, they're going to get eliminated. Now, I'll say this. I don't think there's anybody in Division IV Select who could beat them 2 out of 3. I think they are the best team, but it is still baseball at the end of the day. And when you get into a single elimination tournament, anything can happen.
One other thing, too, and this I equate sort of on a collegiate level to LSU. You can, go and beat the dog out of everybody, but you also have to learn how to win those tough ones. For example, LSU wins one game this week where it was a 1-run game. And a lot of people might say, ooh, Missouri's horrible. Why was that a 1-run game? And I'm kind of like, I like it. You got to know how to win those games. And that's something CCA hasn't had to do very much.
And I asked Joe that question on Friday. That's a great point. I said, Joe, don't in the back of your mind you wish one game you just kind of fall behind like 3-0, just see what would happen. And then he said, yeah, against East Ascension, we were behind 1-0 at the top of the first, and we scored like 16 straight runs in a run rule. So like, okay, well, maybe you guys could do it after all.
Well, Jesuit will be a good test for that, yeah, sure. Hey, while we're saying that, I do want to mention one thing that I would have never thought to even bring into the podcast today. It's not like on any kind of scripted thing, but I want to give a shout out just because I love the guy. He's a couple of years younger than me. I say a couple of years. Let's see. Bo would be about 5 years younger than me. Bo Brower is a young man. I don't even know if you know this, Casey. He grew up in Montague, Louisiana, where I grew up. Mm-hmm. Country kid. I can remember Bo just walking around dribbling a basketball around Montague all the time, but he loved all of the sports. Bo is the head basketball coach at Xavier University at all, right? This is a kid who is from our Bayou that most people would not know. Bo this year eclipsed the record for the most wins ever as a head coach in women's collegiate basketball in Louisiana.
It's amazing.
Think about that. Now, a lot of people are going to say, wait a minute, Kim Mulkey? I don't think he has as many wins as Kim Mulkey does overall, but I'm talking about in the state of Louisiana at Xavier University, and maybe he was a little while at another school in Louisiana. He does have some wins at Southern Illinois, Evansville. But all that being said, he passed up Leon Barrymore and, I hope I don't get her name wrong, Lisa Stockton at Tulane.
Yeah.
He passed her up this year. She was your leader at 577 wins. Bo actually is approaching 600 now, and his team has qualified to go to Sioux City, and they're playing in the NAIA, the big tournament, obviously, which equates to what the NCAA does. So I just want to give him a quick shout out. I don't know how well you know Bo. I know you know of him and everything, but he is a great guy.
I know this. They win every year. So he's got to be doing something right. I mean, you look down at the records; they're 25-6 or whatever every year. So they run a great program there, and just kind of a word to the wise, especially now with so few high school players going to Division I anymore. Hey, go to a school like that, man. Go get your foot in the door. You're gonna win. You're gonna get exposure. Then you could transfer up to those bigger levels. So yeah, man, congratulations to Bo. Unbelievable accomplishments, and man, keep on winning. Bring home that trophy, man.
No doubt. And listen, if a lot of you are saying, is there a lot of girls from this area that play at Xavier? Yes. I mean, at one time, obviously, he and Kenneth Dixon had a little feeding line with Asia Williams and all of those folks who went through there. But all you have to do is talk to Letitia Wise. She is a graduate, of Bo's basketball. A lot of people know Letitia from volleyball, but you had a lot of individuals from this area. And by the way, Xavier is a private Catholic university. That's not that easy when it comes to like getting in, right? So it's not like you could just go there. You have to maintain certain criteria and everything. So congratulations to Bo. And I didn't want to get into all of that, but I'm glad I had you on with that, knowing what you know about him and everything. What's your schedule like this week before we let you go? Do you know yet?
Starting a little bit of baseball. We're going to actually start live streaming some baseball this week. We got South Lafourche and South Tarpon on Tuesday. We're going to try to catch a CCA game a little later in the week. Staying honestly not related to sports, I want to shout something out that we're doing. Everybody down the Bayou and beyond loves to eat. We're doing our Munch Madness bracket starting this week, where we got 48 foods, and people are going to vote to see what is the best dish in Southeast Louisiana. I am team meat, rice, and gravy. I don't think it's going to win the championship, but hey man, we're going to have some fun. We're going to
curious. I'm curious because we are a rice staple. Us Cajuns, we love our rice, but I have friends who are like potato people, so I want to see how they rather their cream potatoes and whatever. So that'll be a lot of fun. You could get that on Bayou Sports. Just go to the Bayou Sports site.
Go to Bayou Sports Facebook. We're going to be voting every day. We're going to be engaging our audience, giving everybody a reprieve, kind of tell us what is the best food in Southeast Louisiana. I think boiled crawfish is going to win, but my vote is rice, meat, rice, and gravy. So,
ooh, boiled crawfish. You can't beat that. Yeah, I'm going to go to that and take a good look at it for sure. Hey, one other thing real quickly before we go. I got this question. You might be on the inside of this, or you may not know, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. Nichols is not streaming baseball like they have done in the past. Do you know anything about that? I know you were going to do the LSU game, but I think that was more of an LSU thing than it necessarily was a Nichols thing, right?
Okay, so still going to do the LSU game in April whenever it happens on ESPN Plus, and then the second part of it is just a cost thing, man. So the conference guarantees the funding for basketball and football. Baseball, you got to raise your own money, and you figure you got to get the trailer there, you got to pay for the producers, you got to pay for the cameraman, and it's just too much of an expense. So they're gonna do the LSU game. If they have some down the stretch, conference championship implication games, they're gonna do those. But other than that, they're just trying to put it into the budget for the future, because it's just an expense thing.
Makes sense. You gotta figure out where to cut. And if that's one of the places it is. And I live, like I said, about 500 yards from the stadium. So I'll just go there.
That's not too bad.
Thanks for everything, man. We'll try and catch up with you next week. Have a terrific week.
You too, buddy.
Always love having Casey on. Gives us great insight. He's a man who I said earlier is in demand, and he always is kind enough to give us some time. Again, go to Bayou Sports and check out everything he does, or go tune in to what he does at lunchtime on a daily basis on KLEB. That show is called Play by Play. This upcoming week, again, folks, it's the Gator Relays. Go out and see that. But as we mentioned when we were talking to Casey, the big game this week in baseball is on Wednesday night. It's at South Lafourche. Jesuit taking on CCA. Huge game. 18-0 against a traditional power like Jesuit. A 5A team taking on a single A team ought to be a lot of fun out at that ballpark. That's it for us. Hope you tune in next week. We'll get you caught up on what happened this week. And as we always do, we are here to promote those kids in our area. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And we hope you have a terrific week. Take care, everybody.